The air hung heavy with the scent of incense and dust, a mix that seemed to cling to every surface and fill every corner. It was thick with the weight of forgotten things, relics from another time that whispered stories of the past. Lisa wandered through the cramped aisles of the antique shop, her fingers trailing over dusty relics from forgotten lives. Each item seemed to hold a piece of history, a fragment of a story long lost. She found herself drawn to a dimly lit corner, a place where the shadows seemed to dance with the flickering light. There, nestled amongst tarnished silver and yellowed lace, sat a curious doll. It stood out amidst the clutter, almost as if it was waiting for her. It was about a foot tall, intricately carved from wood, with details so fine they seemed almost lifelike. The doll was dressed in traditional Thai clothing, its vibrant colors contrasting sharply with the muted tones of the shop. Its painted eyes seemed to follow her every move, an eerie sensation that sent a shiver down her spine. This was a Kuman Thong, the shopkeeper had explained, his voice tinged with a mix of reverence and caution. A spirit doll bound to this world to bring good luck but also requiring respect and care. Lisa felt a strange pull towards the doll, an inexplicable connection that she couldn't quite understand. It was as if it was calling out to her, beckoning her to take it home. Ignoring a prickle of unease, she decided to buy it, convinced that it was meant to be hers. The shopkeeper's smile seemed strained, his eyes reflecting a hidden worry. He hesitated, then spoke in a low voice, almost as if he was afraid of being overheard. The spirit is restless, it demands respect. Forget this and there will be consequences. His words hung in the air, heavy with foreboding. Lisa brushed off his words, her rational mind dismissing them as mere superstition. She dismissed them as superstitious nonsense, a relic of old beliefs that had no place in her modern world. Clutching the doll tightly, Lisa left the shop, feeling a mix of excitement and curiosity. The shopkeeper watched her go, his face etched with worry, as if he knew something she did not. Lisa's apartment was small but cozy. It was her sanctuary, a place where she could escape the chaos of the outside world. It was filled with books and plants, each one carefully chosen to create a sense of peace and tranquility. She placed the Kuman Thong doll on her bedside table, a gift from a mysterious shopkeeper. It seemed to watch her with an unnerving intensity, its eyes following her every move. The first night passed without incident. Lisa slept soundly, unaware of the doll's presence. Lisa began to think the shopkeeper's warnings were just a sales tactic, a way to make the doll seem more intriguing. As the days went by, Lisa grew fond of the doll. It became a part of her daily routine, a silent companion. She even started talking to it, confiding her hopes and dreams. But something had shifted. The air grew colder, and the room seemed darker. Shadows seemed to linger a little longer in her apartment, stretching into corners that were once bright. Lisa started to hear whispers when she was alone. They were faint, almost like a distant echo. They were faint, almost imperceptible, like the rustling of silk. She strained to hear them, but they always eluded her. She dismissed them as her imagination, but a seed of doubt had been planted. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. One night she woke with a start. Her heart was pounding and she felt a chill in the air. She felt a cold presence in the room as if someone or something was watching her. The Kuman Thong doll was glowing faintly. Its eyes seemed to pierce through the darkness. It pulsed with an eerie light, casting strange shadows on the walls. She tried to shake off the unsettling feeling, telling herself it was just a trick of the light. But deep down, Lisa knew that something was wrong, very wrong. The whispers grew louder, more insistent. They morphed into chilling whispers, filling the room with an eerie presence. They seemed to be calling her name, laced with an undercurrent of anger. Lisa's heart raced as she realized the doll was not just a toy, but something far more sinister. Lisa couldn't shake off the feeling of dread that now clung to her. Her once comforting apartment had transformed into a place of fear. She began to see fleeting shadows moving in the corners of her eyes. Objects started to move around her apartment seemingly on their own. One morning Lisa found her furniture overturned. It was as if a whirlwind had swept through her apartment. Fear gnawed at her sanity. She couldn't deny the increasingly sinister turn of events. She tried to get rid of the doll. Lisa threw it in the trash only to find it back on her bedside table the next morning. Desperation clawed at her. She felt trapped, haunted by something she didn't understand. The whispers grew louder, more insistent. "Respect," they hissed. "You were warned." Sleep offered no escape. Terrifying nightmares plagued her. The Kuman Thong doll featured prominently in them. Its painted eyes glowed with malevolent glee. Lisa was living in a waking nightmare. The line between reality and terror blurred. She knew she needed help. She needed answers. With a heart pounding in her chest, Lisa returned to the antique shop. The air was thick with the same cloying incense. It did little to mask the sense of foreboding that hung in the air. The shopkeeper looked at her with a mixture of pity and grim understanding. He had warned her, but she hadn't listened. "You disturbed the spirit," he said, his voice low and grave. "It is not pleased." Lisa's voice trembled as she explained the terrifying events. The whispers, the moving objects, the nightmares. She felt tears welling up, hot and desperate. The shopkeeper listened patiently. When she finished, he let out a sigh. "You need to appease the spirit," he said. "Offerings of food and drink. Treat it with respect." He handed her a small, intricately carved box. "Incense," he explained. "Burn it every night. It might appease the spirit." Lisa clung to his words like a lifeline. She thanked him profusely and rushed back to her apartment. Hope flickered faintly amidst the fear. Maybe she could fix this. Maybe she could appease the angry spirit. The offerings did little to quell the haunting. The terrifying events escalated. Lisa's fear morphed into sheer terror. She sought help from a spiritual medium. The medium, an old woman with eyes that seemed to hold ancient secrets, listened intently to Lisa's story. When she finished, the medium's face was grave. "The spirit is angry," she said, her voice raspy with age. "It is not a benevolent spirit, it is a vengeful one. You have disturbed something dark and powerful." Lisa's blood ran cold. "What do I do?" she whispered, her voice choked with fear. The medium told her about a ritual, a dangerous ritual, fraught with risk. It was the only way to appease the spirit and send it back to where it belonged. The ritual involved returning to the antique shop. There, under the watchful eyes of the shopkeeper and the medium, Lisa would confront the spirit. She would be forced to confront her fear head-on. The thought sent shivers down her spine. The antique shop was shrouded in an eerie silence, the kind that seemed to seep into your bones and make you shiver involuntarily. The air crackled with anticipation, as if the very atmosphere was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. Lisa stood before the Kuman Thong doll, her heart pounding against her ribs like a drumbeat of fear. She could feel the weight of its gaze, even though its eyes were just painted glass. The shopkeeper and the medium flanked her, their faces etched with concern and a hint of something else, perhaps fear or dread. The medium began to chant in a language Lisa didn't understand, the words flowing like a dark river, carrying with them an ancient power. The air grew heavy, charged with unseen energy. The temperature plummeted and Lisa could see her breath misting in the cold. The Kuman Thong doll vibrated on the table, its movements erratic and unsettling, as if it were trying to break free from some invisible restraint. It started to glow with an intense, otherworldly light, casting eerie shadows on the walls and making the room feel even more surreal. Lisa felt a wave of cold fear wash over her, a primal terror that seemed to grip her very soul. It threatened to drown her, pulling her down into a dark abyss of despair. "Speak to it," the medium urged, her voice cutting through the fog of fear that clouded Lisa's mind. "Tell it you are sorry for disturbing it," she continued, her tone leaving no room for hesitation. Lisa's voice was barely a whisper, her throat tight with fear and emotion. I am sorry," she stammered, her eyes fixed on the malevolent glow of the doll, hoping her words would be enough to appease it. "I didn't mean to disturb you," she added, her voice trembling. A cold wind whipped through the room, extinguishing the candles in an instant and plunging them into darkness. The shop plunged into darkness, the only light coming from the eerie glow of the doll. A raspy voice, filled with rage, echoed around them, making the hairs on the back of Lisa's neck stand up. "You will pay!" it hissed, the words dripping with malice and anger. Lisa felt a surge of defiance rise within her, a spark of courage igniting in the face of the doll's threat. "No," she said, her voice gaining strength and resolve. She would not be cowed by this malevolent presence. "I won't let you control me anymore," she declared, her words ringing with newfound determination. Lisa closed her eyes. She dug deep within herself, drawing on a wellspring of courage she didn't know she possessed. "I am not afraid of you," she said, her voice ringing with newfound strength. "Leave this place, leave me alone." The air crackled with tension. The Kuman Thong doll shook violently. The shadows around them writhed and pulsed. Lisa held her ground. She refused to back down. Then, as quickly as it began, the wind died down. The shadows receded. The Kuman Thong doll stopped glowing. It lay still on the table, seemingly lifeless. A single candle flickered back to life, casting long, dancing shadows across the room. Lisa opened her eyes. She felt drained, but a sense of relief washed over her. The terrifying presence was gone. The shopkeeper quickly relit the candles. The shop was bathed in a warm, comforting light once more. Lisa turned to the medium, her eyes filled with questions. "What happened?" she asked. "Did it work?" The medium nodded slowly. "The spirit is gone," she said. "You faced your fear. You showed it. You were not afraid." Lisa felt a wave of exhaustion wash over her. She had never been so terrified in her life. The shopkeeper carefully wrapped the Kuman Thong doll in a silk cloth. He would return it to the corner where he had found it. He knew better than to discard it. As Lisa turned to leave, the shopkeeper spoke. "The spirit is gone," he said, his voice low. "But be warned, it is always seeking a new home, a new vessel." Lisa shivered. She knew that she would never forget this night. Life slowly returned to normal. The whispers were gone. The shadows no longer haunted her. Lisa was finally able to sleep peacefully. But the experience had changed her. She was no longer the carefree woman she once was. The world seemed a little darker, a little more sinister. She couldn't shake off the feeling that something was watching her, waiting for her. Lisa couldn't bring herself to look at another doll. She avoided antique shops altogether. The Kuman Thong's haunting had left an indelible mark on her soul. A constant reminder that some things are best left undisturbed. The spirit may be gone, but the haunting lingers. A chilling testament to the darkness that lies just beneath the surface of the ordinary. The experience had taught Lisa a valuable lesson. A lesson she would never forget. Some doors are not meant to